Be a link, yes. You'll get it in a second. All right, welcome. It's COMP1073, client-side scripting here in the winter 2016 term of at Georgian College, and we're doing week 1, lesson 1, part 1 of our broadcast. I'm going to have 2 parts. There's going to be a broadcast, which is what I'm doing right now, and I'll also be doing a recording later on for those people who can't catch the broadcast. It's a little bit higher quality than the broadcast, but I do this because it's kind of a one and done. If you're unable to make it, or if you want to watch it live or whatever, you can do it at the same time, and it actually uploads to YouTube pretty nicely. Okay, so where is it, you're asking, the channel, right? So if you wanted to go to YouTube, so I just went to YouTube by itself as an example, and I was searching for me, then you would find me under my first initial last name. And this is me seeing me as me, right? So if I want to see me as you, right, I'm going to look at me as a new visitor, and you can see that it's up as a live link on YouTube. So if you actually click on this link, you'll see me, you'll hear me talking live. So please don't do that right now. Otherwise, you'll just hear me. There'll be a bit of kind of an echo in the class, right? Welcome. All right, so that's what I do. I kind of record. Each video is going to be in its own playlist, right? So right now, the playlist is COMP1073, right? So that's the video that we're going to be, you can watch. The videos aren't a replacement for come in class, right? They're just additional materials, right? So please don't use them and say, well, Tom broadcasts his class all the time, so I don't have to come, right? That's not what I'm doing this for. I'm doing it to give you additional materials, additional stuff that you can look at, other than just the PowerPoints, right? Because PowerPoints are kind of boring, right? And speaking of PowerPoints, all my PowerPoints and everything else, I'll be using a Blackboard for everything. So up on Blackboard, you'll see 3 PowerPoints for today's class. A couple of them are pretty short. I'm going to run through them. There's kind of like a history of JavaScript and some other kind of theoretical stuff that we're going to talk about very, very briefly, because I don't want to bore anybody, right? And then we're going to get right into scripting. So there's going to be some tool requirements we're going to talk about. And while I'm talking about your syllabus here, I'd like you to download a tool if you don't have it already, right? So the editor we're going to be using this semester, and I'd encourage you to use, is Visual Studio Code, right? It's not Visual Studio. It's a cross-platform editor that works Mac, Linux, and Windows, right? It's kind of the newest, hottest editor from Microsoft, and it's open source, right? So that's the one I want you to grab from this link. The great thing about this is it has really nice code hinting for JavaScript. And later on in this course, we're also going to be talking about TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript to make you guys superheroes when it comes to JavaScript, right? So that's why I've chosen to use Visual Studio. It also has GitHub integration and other nice little toys, and it's all free, right? So there's nothing too much to download. It's a small package. Compared to Visual Studio itself, Microsoft Visual Studio, that's 70 million lines of code. This is very, very slim. And if you're used to looking at something like Sublime Text or brackets or something like that, this is akin to that, right? So you can certainly grab this. However, during our classes, I'm never going to go check to see, what editor you're going to use. I'm not going to go and say, hey, you're not using Visual Studio Code. What's wrong with you, right? I'm not going to say that. You can use whatever editor you want. You're the designer, developer, right? Whatever suits your fancy, kind of thing, right? The only thing is, I'm going to show you some stuff that's going to help you along on your journey to learn JavaScript here, right? So that's why I've suggested Visual Studio Code. Again, I would say brackets is a close second at this point for me. And I used to use brackets all the time. If you're familiar with brackets by Adobe, they've also got this free editor that they've produced. Right now, it's being managed by GitHub, and you can certainly download brackets as an alternate choice if you wanted to, right? So brackets, and it's got really good support as well, and it's very modular, and it's extensible and everything else. Really, really cool. But again, we're going to be using Visual Studio here, and that's what I'm primarily going to be using in this class. So please download this while I'm talking about your syllabus and what the plan is for the course. Okay, so let's pull this up. This syllabus is up online, actually. If you look at it on Blackboard, it's there. So we're meeting here between 9 and 12 on Thursdays. There is a kind of a book that we're going to be using. It's recommended. I'm going to be following this first book here. I've got a couple books in here. that I recommend. One of them is Learning JavaScript, a hands-on guide to fundamentals of modern JavaScript by Pearson. It's a 2013 book, but it's still fairly relevant to what we are today. There are some stuff that are a little bit timed out in terms of where we are today in JavaScript. JavaScript has really progressed in the last 2 years, like huge. Like it's, in fact, I mean, picking up a book at all these days and reading any kind of computer book is really, really hard because things change every 3 months to 6 months, right? So I write a book today and it's really modern and progressive, and then 3 months from now it's not. I mean, that's how JavaScript and the web is working these days, right? So I've got one there, and I've also got another one. They're coming out with one from O'Reilly, which is the same name actually. It's called by chance, Learning JavaScript, without the subheading, a hands-on guide to the fundamentals and so on. But this one is, we're going to use this one for supplementary materials. That's what I'm using this one for. So I'll be pulling out of there for things like object-oriented JavaScript near the end of our course and so on, right? So a couple books that I'm going to be using, and I'll be following them like pretty much chapter for chapter. So that's me, Tom Tsiopoulos. I'm a Greek guy, and like I said, I've been at Georgian for since 2011. And you can find me at this address. I don't have regular hours, however, because I'm part-time, but you can certainly make an appointment if you need to. I'm definitely here on Thursdays all day. I have another class after this one at 1 o'clock, 1 to 4, and then after that I'm available if you want to meet me then. Also on Fridays after 12 o'clock, from about 12 to 2, I'm also available every Friday. And we can also make other appointments during the week if you want to hook up with me on Hangouts, if you want to, or Skype with me or whatever. If you have a problem with one of your assignments or whatever, we can certainly do that. You can send me email, not a problem. So that's me. I got a lot of stuff planned for you guys. And if you notice from an assignment perspective, I'm going to do things a little differently than we've done in the past. So it looks like it's like crazy quiz heavy, right? Well, bear with me. What I mean when I say quiz, it's a 5-minute quiz, okay? So every other class, so starting next week, you're going to get a quiz for 5 minutes, all right, which is going to be based on the stuff we learned today. So anything I talk about today, it's fair game for the quiz. It's probably going to be between 5 and 10 questions worth 2% of your final mark, right? So you can certainly watch the video, but the quiz will be passworded. I won't be broadcasting it, and you'll have 5 minutes to answer it or whatever. It'll be closed book, so you need to actually follow along and actually understand what we're talking about here. Practice the stuff that I've given you to practice, and it's worth 2% of your final mark every time, right? So 2%, 2%, 2%, 2% is worth 20% by the 10th quiz, right? So it's like smaller tests as we go along. Okay, so slowly as we go, we have these little quizzes. Assignments, there's only really 4 of them, and they're not that big. They're going to be kind of around the stuff that we're learning in JavaScript. So we're going to start off with manipulating the DOM, which is assignment number 1. I'll give you the details next week. And you always have about a week or 2 to finish your assignments, right? So, and they're not going to be that heavy. Like, you're going to see them that they're very straightforward. There's no tricks to them or anything like that. It's just going to ask you to do the same stuff that I've asked you to do in class. Just produce something. And another one would be JavaScript arrays, because arrays are always a killer for students, eh? They don't understand it. Generally, students they have problems with arrays for some reason or another. It's hard to grasp them. So we're going to do one assignment like that, and that's probably going to be a tricky one for you if you're not great with arrays as it is, right? So if you haven't taken any other languages, and I'm going to ask you some questions in a second about what languages you've taken just to poll the class, it might be something that you might have some challenge with. We'll do a midterm. It'll be purely practical, our midterm. So there won't be any multiple choice questions because I'm going to multiple choice you to death here, right? Every other class, I'm giving you some kind of quiz, right? So it makes no sense for me to ask you multiple choice questions on the midterm. It'll purely be practical. You'll build something small that you'll have to deliver to me for that particular day. So it's more hands-on that I'm asking you to do. After the midterm, we're going to head into event handling and error handling, which is kind of a topic of importance for JavaScript, and then form validation. If you don't do form validation with JavaScript, I really have failed. Something's wrong, right? I mean, form validation is one of the main reasons why we do JavaScript and interactivity, right? And you can see, so interspersed with everything, you've got all the quizzes kind of planned out. Then you've got a final project, and the final project, I'm kind of playing with the idea that you might be able to partner with somebody else right now. As we come closer, I'll give you more details about this one. And what it's going to be is using all the skills you've learned on your final project to kind of understand whether or not each kind of use JavaScript the way it's supposed to be used, right? Now notice how it's broken out into 4 parts, right? And they're each worth 5%. These are all milestones for the project. So I'm not going to give you like this big, massive project like you may have seen in the past. I'm going to give you each week is a milestone. You got to deliver something every single week, right? But it's small chunks. So that way, by the end, you've got your 20% project, right? As opposed to, I'll give you 20% and go with it for 4 weeks, and then I won't see you again, and then you're going to start working on it the last week, right? Unfortunately, it's what we all do, right? We're procrastinators unless we're forced to not be, right? So therefore, this is my way of forcing you. We have a final exam. Again, it'll be, if you notice, it's not big. 10%, because I've spread out all the marks across the semester. The exams are less important, so that way you won't feel stressed. And it's going to be a practical exam again, something that you know how to do. So it's not going to be something that I'm going to ask you to. I'm going to ask you some weird questions, because you're going to get all the weird questions week after week. Okay? Questions around this. This is our plan, right? In terms of our assignments and so on. I'm also going to be doing in my syllabus here. We have an idea of where everything's happening. Today we're going to do kind of an intro to JavaScript and your environment, right? So again, I've asked you to download Visual Studio Code. That's part of what we're doing today. Next week we're going to be talking about the DOM bomb. If you don't know what those things are, it's okay. Storing data is really around arrays. And again, I'm following the book pretty much week over week. Variables, functions, and loops we hit on week 4. Functions are really kind of the center point of JavaScript, eh? I remember I had Ari in one of my classes, and he was like, holy crap, it's like function within a function within a function, right? I remember you saying that to me, and I was like, yeah, it is. It's true. It's like a function within a function, right? And and that's what we do in JavaScript. It's kind of a weird syntax, and if you're not used to it, it's like, wow, that's really ugly, right? So we're going to talk about functions and how they're a little different in JavaScript. We're going to hit debugging and error handling. That's something that it's not in the book, that I'm going to pull into. We're going to have a little bit of handouts and some examples on that day, because if you can't debug your JavaScript stuff, really it's a mess, right? So we're going to talk about that week 5. We're going to talk about event handling on week 6, and if you notice, it kind of goes kind of aligned with your assignments, right? So what I'm asking you to do is something to do with the DOM and DOM manipulation, then there's an assignment for it, and so on. Okay, and again, it's nicely spread out, so you have a couple weeks for each assignment to do. After midterm, everything gets funky, right, and more challenging. So we do all our basics, let's say, by week 6. Then after week 6, we start doing things like Ajax. We bring in jQuery to help us out to make things easier. And then we do object-oriented JavaScript, which is my favorite stuff, from week 11 to 14, right? I bring in a little bit of TypeScript at the end just to introduce you to what it is, right, so you understand what it is. And you've been pretty much using Visual Studio Code throughout the entire time, which is written in TypeScript, right, for the entire semester. And then finally, you've got your final exam. So that's really the plan. It's fairly straightforward. There's no secrets or tricks to this whole thing. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 14 weeks. Questions around this stuff? Any concerns, right? That's good. No questions and no concerns. That means you guys haven't had your coffee yet, and there's nothing to bitch about, right? So, all right, let's check this out. I want to do a short poll. And I know I kind of did this in the other class with when Ari was in there, but I'm curious, right? We're going to do a short poll. I'm going to go to polleverywhere.com, where you can join me. I'm going to create a new poll here, and the poll is going to be, how comfortable am I? How comfortable am I with JavaScript? Right? Some of you may already know it, right? Some of you may not. So we're going to say not comfortable at all. That's one, right? Kind of know it. And we'll have another one that says
mustache. Good. Yeah.
Mustache good?
Yeah.
Right, sure, mustache good. That means you're comfortable, right? And then, how about this? I'm a master.
Mustache master.
Mustache. Mustachio, right? There you go.
Braces,
Oh, sure, yeah, man, sure. Mustache master. There we go. All right, that's right. I'm a master mustache master. There we go. Let's create this one, and when I create this poll, you're going to see that when it comes up online. I know. You can certainly text me at you text learn to 37607 for your phone, or you can join me at polev.com/learn live to answer the question. So go ahead. Anyone, it's available to everybody. So not comfortable at all, kind of know it. Comfortable, I'm a mustache master. Right? polev.com/learn.
Is this your website?
It is not.
How do we get such a easy UI?
Well, you know how it is, right? Like I said, just like how I got Georgian College for GitHub. Right. If you're one of the first, you get the nice stuff going on. Kind of know it. I like that one. I'm a mustache master. Who's the mustache master? I'm like excited to know that one.
Yes.
Right. It's okay not to be comfortable at all. And I'm going to do these polls periodically throughout the semester because they're anonymous, right? And some challenge we have with students is they don't want to put their hand up. I don't want to put my hand up because I don't want anyone to know that I'm not good, right?
You want to create an account.
With what?
Physical login.
No, you don't need to create an account. Just go to polev.com/learn and you're good to. Or you can just text learn at 37607. It's anonymous, right?
It won't take my vote. I'm not logged in.
Okay.
I'm not going to text.
Okay. All right, you gonna help her out? You're the best, buddy. So that's it. That's really in a nutshell. If you can see the displacement, kind of know it is good, actually. I'm pretty happy with kind of know it. If you kind of know JavaScript, we're ahead. We're ahead of the game. I'm going to save steps here with you guys, right? Because without kind of knowing something about JavaScript, it's a journey, eh? The other thing I want to ask you, and I'm just going to stop this poll for now because I think this is important. And I'm going to ask it. Oh, there's another one that says not comfortable at all. So we'll stop the poll for a second, and let's get into another one. I'll just do one more poll for you guys, right? And I'll say, you know, how comfortable am I with object-oriented programming? How about that one? Object-oriented programming. Okay, that's what OOT stands for. And let's say we'll say not at all. Right? So you've never done it before. Kind of understand it. Right? Pretty comfortable. And the other one is I'm an OOP master, right? Oh, come on. On, what the hell, right? It never says hang on for me, right? There we go. Okay, so we're gonna make this poll live, and it's the same thing. If you oh, I got an OOP master going on. I got some responses already happening right now. Woo. Oh yeah, and this craziness, right? Someone's cheating, I know that, right? You guys are like texting and they're using your thing. There's only 40 responses, right? So this is a bad thing. This is if you guys aren't comfortable with object-oriented programming at all, for the most part, which looks like you aren't, if I'm going to be your first venture into object-oriented programming, that might be bad, right? So that's why I've left it off to the end, right? We're going to be talking about it. Are you guys doing any other kind of programming courses at all this semester? Yes? No? SQL, that's okay. So you're doing some database. What else? PHP with Rich, right? And with intro to web, right? That's what you're doing with that?
We have math for relational.
Okay, and Rich for intro to web. And so one of the things we've been playing around with, and I'm just putting it out there to you guys, is the reason why I haven't outlined my final project is Rich and I are thinking about making it one, right? As opposed to more than one project, right? So I'm going to give you my final project. He's going to give you his big final project, and you have two big final projects at the end, right? That makes no sense to me. So what I'd rather do is let's make one big final project. You guys do the front end in this course and the back end with him, right? That's my thinking. So again, I have to work out the details with Rich and what the requirements are going to be with you for you guys and how we're going to deliver all the you know, all the stuff that I want you to deliver by the end. Obviously, there's going to be different requirements that you're going to have, but you're going to work on the same project to make it like, you know, an awesome project for him. Okay, so as we get closer to the end, you're going to notice we're going to know more and more about what object-oriented programming is. If you don't know anything about it, I have to introduce this. So I'm asking these questions just to gauge, you know, what else I can drag into the course. to kind of get you to understand. Okay, one more, and then I promise no more of these. So I'm going to just ask you one more, and which is kind of a simple one to me, but it also tells me a couple things about you. That we answer. So IE, let's say IE Edge. I'm just putting it out there, right? Chrome, right? That's kind of a popular one. Safari, and let's put in a Firefox, right? Because those are the big major ones. You know what? Just for to be nice, I'll even put in Opera, right? Because some people, for whatever, poor Opera, they like using that too. So let's go into to create this one and last one, I promise, and then we'll go into the actual course material for release. I'm just curious. I want to know. So Chrome. All right. So I'm using Chrome and Firefox. IE Edge. Nothing's wrong with using IE Edge, actually. You know, the majority. If I want to look at lowest common, if I want to look at lowest common denominator, right? I'm going to look at IE Edge, right? If it can work with IE Edge, one of those things, it'll work, right? That's the good thing about it, right? Chances are. Oh, I know it's good though, but I'm glad that they're moving toward Edge, but still it's got a big problem. So it looks like we're a bunch of Chrome users here, which is good because we're going to be using Chrome for debugging. We're going to be using Chrome for the majority of stuff. Things I do in Chrome, you can still do in Safari and Firefox, even in Opera, and in Edge. But again, Chrome has some really cool tools. Yes.
You said if it works in IE Edge, are you referring to JavaScript or just generally?
Generally,
Okay.
if it works in IE or Edge, it's going to work. Like it's generally, that's why I kind of test with that a lot. Actually, if I can make it work with Internet Explorer, then I've done something right? Because it's going to work everywhere else. Chances are, right? And I hate to say that, but people ignore Internet Explorer when they do their testing or developing, and that's wrong, right? Because here's a piece of statistics. If I was going to look at I'll shut this one down. If I was going to look at the statistics for the web when it comes from a development perspective, right? And if I go to stats counter, statscounter.com, right? If I go to stats counter, I think it's let's see if it's global stats. Here we go. If I go to stats counter, gs.statcounter.com, and if I was going to look, let's say, instead of worldwide, I'm going to look at just North America. So let's say we'll even look at just Canada. How about that? So we'll say Canada, and we'll look at the period from until about December 2015 is fine. That's just recent anyway. And you know what? Instead of using a line, I like a bar. And browser, desktop, and tablet, I can specify whatever. Let's see what happens, right? Because this is the most popular browsers that are being used in Canada over the last year, right? So stats counter, they basically collect stats anonymously. Browser uses statistics and so on, and they accumulate it here on their website. Okay, so popular browser, Chrome. But look at IE, 22%.
That's all government buildings.
Well, regardless, 22%. To me, 22% is 22%, right? Right. I mean, so imagine you have this. You have your market, right? And I'm gonna ignore 22% of my users out there. That's just not right, right? So to me, it's important to don't forget IE, especially in Canada. Safari, number 3, Firefox, number 4, and we've got Android and probably other stuff after. Yes.
Will that break it down in IE?
It would, yeah. If you go through it, you can actually break it down per version. So if you go to down into here, you can say browser version as opposed to just the browser, right? So if you do that, and I'm going to combine all Chrome versions because there's a lot of them, and they come out fairly regularly. If you do that and combine all Chrome, but split everything else up, you'll see how it splits off nicely. So it's a neat little site to kind of give you some idea. I know I've been challenged in the past. I had a professor of mine say, "Well, who provides this thing?" He's a colleague of mine. Who does this thing? I don't believe it, right? Kind of thing, right? Well, you know what?
I do at home.
Yeah, it's like someone collects stats for no reason whatsoever and puts it on a website to promote, Chrome, right? And it's kind of global, so to me, it doesn't make any sense that it would be, kind of biased in any way. Okay, so we've got Chrome again. Chrome All, it looks like the big one. IE 11. Which is up there, right? And you can notice that there's IE 8, IE 9, IE 10 down here. Where's Edge? You see?
That's
so
probably IE 11.
No.
Would that be it?
No,
They wouldn't classify that as that?
no. Right. So yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think you still got some issues. It's probably in the other. But you notice how Chrome is crazy, right? Chrome is big, and then you're looking at IE 11, which is Windows 8, right? Kind of thing. That time frame. Firefox 5 Plus, the Safari, and so on. And you can see Safari iPad, right, is right up there, right? So there's more iPad users, you know, than IE8 and IE9 users, right now, right? Which is kind of that's a good thing. It's a really good thing, right? But so you see where the reason why I'm showing you this is because, okay, we're going to be using JavaScript. We're going to be using you know, the latest versions of different software and so on. And I need to know what my audience is, right? But like I said, there's a big portion of our audience that's Internet Explorer users. So please don't discount them. I know a lot of people, you know, have the hate on for Microsoft, but truly, they take a portion of our audience. We don't want to not look at those. Okay, so any questions so far with what we've done? I like the fact that you know, we're on the same page. I kind of knew ahead of time that object-oriented programming-wise, some people would be a little weaker in this class because you haven't taken anything object-oriented yet, not yet. And you will be. And I want to try and give you some intro into that, but I don't want to taint you because once I show you object-oriented programming with JavaScript, it'll ruin you for every other language. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it just because there's some really cool things you can do with JavaScript you can't do with any other language. Okay, so that's cool. So really, we've talked about in this video, we've talked about kind of a setup for what we're doing for this semester, and I kind of got an idea of what you're doing. I'm going to stop this video now because I want to kind of compartmentalize. So the first video is just an intro if you want to know what we're doing, when everything's due. There it is. And who has not yet had a chance to download Visual Studio Code? So if you haven't, that's what I'd like you to do. So go to Visual Studio Code, please. Please download it if you haven't had a chance to do that, because we're going to get into that right away in the next session, right? So I'm going to stop recording for 1 second, grab Visual Studio Code, and then we'll get into it.